All right, y'all, it's me again. We are going to go over some notes on kingdoms and domains. So before this, we went over classification and taxonomy, and we learned Katy Perry came over for good soup, right? We learned this so we could order the levels of taxon and what order they go in. You have to have some sort of saying that's going to help you remember because you have to know them in order. Well, today we're going to talk about domain, which actually comes before kingdom, so you can remember it as Dear Katy Perry came over for good soup. Okay, so today we're going to focus on kingdoms and domains, but I just want to make it clear that there is one phylum you need to know, and that is Chordata. Chordata is going to include birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians. And the reason you need to know that is because of this right here. This is our phylum as humans because we are mammals. So you need to know phylum Chordata. All right. So we're going to talk about 3 domains very quickly. The first 2 domains you can see are prokaryotes. And if you do not remember prokaryotes, hopefully you will remember that pro means no. No nucleus and no membrane-bound organelles. And then we have one eukaryotic domain, which means do have a nucleus. Sounds kind of weird, but just remember pro means no nucleus, okay? So the 2 prokaryotic domains we're going to talk about is bacteria and archaea. And the one eukaryotic domain is going to be, of course, eukarya. And if you notice, eukarya sounds a lot like eukaryote. So let's move right into the kingdoms. You can see our domains here are bacteria and archaea. So these are going to be our prokaryotic kingdoms. They do not have a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles. And these are going to be our eukaryotic kingdoms. They do have a nucleus. They do have organelles. The first prokaryotic kingdom we're going to talk about is called eubacteria. It is a bacteria. And the second one is going to be archaebacteria. And there is a difference. We're going to go into them, but they are both types of bacteria. And we're going to learn about protista, which is my favorite because they're kind of weird. We're going to learn about fungi, kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Animalia. Okay, so those are the 6 kingdoms we're going to learn about today. I'm going to move this very slowly so you can make sure you've written everything. But if you haven't written everything, you can absolutely pause it and keep going. Okay, so we're going to start with going into eubacteria in more depth. I don't know why that's highlighted. Okay, so just make a little note right here. Oh, that's why it's highlighted. Eubacteria is bacteria. Okay, it's in the name. Make sure you make a little note. All bacteria are prokaryotic. Okay, they're all prokaryotes. So right here, we're going to make a note. Eubacteria are prokaryotic. And one way you can remember this kind of bacteria is by memorizing that eubacteria live on you. Wait, that's not what I want. They live on or around you in your body. So if it's a bacteria that's mentioned being on your skin, like Staphylococcus, or if it's a bacteria that's mentioned being in your body, okay, E. coli, Streptococcus. These are all bacteria that live on or around your body. Bacilli, like Lactobacillus, yogurt, bacteria found in yogurts. These are eubacteria because they can exist in and around your body. So a couple details you need to know about this kingdom eubacteria. The cell walls, they do have cell walls, and they are made of something called peptidoglycan. I don't like the way this looks. Let me fix it. Peptidoglycan. Eubacteria are unicellular, and that's going to mean they are made of one cell. Okay, they are single-celled organisms. There's a couple vocabulary here you need to remember from your previous science classes. We're going to refer to these 2 words for the rest of the unit and through our ecology unit. If an organism makes its own food or makes its own energy, like photosynthesis, that organism is called an autotroph. And in this kingdom, we can have autotrophs. Or if it needs to consume food to get energy, like we do, they're going to be called heterotrophs. Okay. In each of these kingdoms, you need to know some examples. Streptococcus, E. coli, which is the bacteria found in fecal matter in your intestines. You may see Staphylococcus. These are all examples of eubacteria. Next, we're going to have Archaebacteria, and if you notice, it is also a bacteria, so it is going to be prokaryotic. The difference, though, is right here. Okay, make sure you know this little difference right here. These bacteria do not live in or around your body. These bacteria are going to live in really harsh or extreme environments, hot springs, volcanoes, deep sea thermal vents. How many things do you know that can live in volcanoes? Okay, these are going to live in really crazy, really extreme, harsh environments where things normally cannot live. Kingdom Archaebacteria does have a cell wall, but it is not made of that same stuff. It's not made of peptidoglycan. It's going to be made of unusual lipids that most organisms aren't going to have. It's partly why they can survive in those environments. They are bacteria, so they are also unicellular, made of one cell, single-celled. Autotrophs, they can be heterotrophs. Remember, kingdoms are very large. They encompass a lot of organisms. They are very inclusive because they include a lot of organisms. Examples could be methanogens or halophiles, but really look for that harsher extreme environment. Okay, those are our two prokaryotic kingdoms. Let's move on to our eukaryotic kingdoms. So the first one and the most fun one, I think, are protist or kingdom Protista. These are eukaryotic. They do have nuclei and membrane-bound organelles. They have cell walls made of cellulose. Most are unicellular, but there can be some that are multicellular. And once again, they can be autotrophs or heterotrophs. And I like these because this is known as the junk drawer kingdom. What that means is that there are organisms in Protista that are going to be animal-like or plant-like, but they will be neither. It may seem animal-like, but it's not an animal, and it may seem plant-like, but it's not a plant. These are protists. These are typically found in pond water, and some examples are going to include amoeba. An amoeba is a unicellular protist. Paramecium. If you were in class, you saw me show a video of an amoeba eating paramecium. I also showed you a picture of a euglena. They're the green ones with chloroplasts. And then giant kelp is a good example of a multicellular protist. And just a reminder, multicellular just means more than one cell or many cells. I don't know why these printed so close together, but I don't like that, so I'm going to scoot up and hide it. Our next kingdom is fungi. Hopefully you can't hear my cat tearing something up in the background. Fungi, that is going to be a eukaryotic kingdom. They have some cell walls made of something called chitin. And just for fun, it says it's the same thing that makes up the exoskeleton of bugs. So if you've ever, crushed or stepped on accidentally a June bug or a roach or a beetle and it makes a crunching sound, that's because that exoskeleton is made of this chitin. And the cell walls of fungi are also made of this chitin. Most are going to be multicellular. So made of more than one cell. But some can be unicellular. They are heterotrophs, y'all. Fungi are not plants. They are not plants. They do not do photosynthesis. Some are actually called saprobes, which means they are decomposers. They're going to break down dead or decaying stuff like poop or decaying logs. You may see them growing on old trees or grass or mounds of decaying plant matter. So they're decomposers. They break down those decaying things to get nutrients. Others are actually parasitic. And some examples are going to include ringworm or athlete's foot. Those are parasitic fungi. They're fungal infections. Usually when we talk about fungi, the main thing that people mention is going to be, of course, a mushroom. That is a multicellular fungi. But yeast is a unicellular fungi. A lot of people don't know that. It is a fungi. And just a little bit of a note. We said fungi are not plants, but they do have these little things called mycelium. I don't like the way I wrote that. Mycelium are little they look like little root structures, but they're not roots. They kind of function like roots, but they are not. So if you were to ever like I'm not an artist, y'all. If you were to ever like pull up a mushroom from outside, okay, and you might see like some little white string things hanging off of them, that's what the mycelium is going to look like. All right, these two are probably going to be the easiest ones. Kingdom Plantae, they are eukaryotic. They have cell walls made of cellulose. They are multicellular, and they are autotrophs, okay? Plantae is going to be plants, trees, grass, shrubs, herbs, mosses, ferns. These are kingdom Plantae. They do photosynthesis. They are autotrophs. And finally, kingdom Animalia. Of course, eukaryotic. We have nuclei. One thing you got to know is that animals do not have cell walls. Okay, everything else, every other kingdom we've talked about has cell walls, and we've talked about what they're made of, but Animalia does not have a cell wall. Organisms are multicellular. You as a human have tons of cells in your body. Oh, I forgot how to spell that for a second. Heterotrophs, we got to eat, right? We got to eat burgers and stuff to get nutrients, to get energy for our body. And examples are going to be sponges, worms, insects, fish, mammals. That includes birds, reptiles, and don't forget that you are always included in mammals, okay? So those are our 6 kingdoms right there. We didn't really go over these in class, but these are the kind of questions that you're going to get whenever you're doing your gallery walk for the kingdoms. It's going to ask you. It's going to ask you questions like, what organism is unicellular, prokaryotic, and has a cell wall made of peptidoglycan? Well, you're going to have to come up here and say, okay, unicellular, prokaryotic, cell wall made of peptidoglycan. We're looking for kingdom Eubacteria. Okay? See you next time.